Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of The Blacklist, Season 9, Episode 8. We're going to talk about here our dear old friend, Dr. Meyer. Well, not dear or a friend. And you know what? Really, we're actually not going to talk that much about Dr. Meyer because he kind of sucked.
Yeah, the Blacklister,
No.
not my favorite part of the episode, but there was a lot of really good stuff. We found out that Dembe absolutely gave Liz the letter, right? And it was like, "Did you do it?" And he was like, "Yep." Straight up like that. I'm really shocked that it actually played out like that. I
Yeah.
thought that this was going to be dragged out.
I think I'm starting to realize now that with the way that Dembe just answers things apparently so bluntly, like Liz should have asked him just years ago, hey, who is Reddington really? And then Dembe could have just given her a blunt answer.
Reddington didn't even have to pay anybody to get the fingerprints off the envelope because it just went to Dembe and was like, "Did you do it?" "Yep."
Yeah, well, okay, well, we're gonna talk a lot about Dembe. I think there's a lot of interesting mysteries that we can all sort of theorize on here. We will also talk about what is going on with Cooper. I think we can all just breathe in a nice sigh of relief that this is closer to the Blacklist. I think that so many of us know and love, where we have like these big overarching mysteries, and it took us a little while to get here. I know we had to sort of deal with some struggle bus stuff early on this season.
Yeah, but Reddington said it best near the end of the episode. Are you done now trying to investigate Liz and Liz's death? Nope. I am just getting started. I was like, yes, yes. It is not just 2 years later
No.
and we're running away from the whole mystery of it all.
No.
There is still a mystery, and it still involves his love for Liz.
All right. Well, of course, if you guys love this video, hit that subscribe button because we have previews, theories, more reviews, all sorts of really, really great stuff. We're better placed to completely lose your mind over the Blacklist than here at the channel with us. So hit that subscribe button and check out our Instagram at Matt and Jess TV.
All right, let's just start with the Dembe of it all.
Yeah.
Like I said, Reddington did ask him, "Did you give this letter to Liz?" He said yes, that it made her very happy. You could see on his face, zero regrets at that time.
This is a story, I think, really all about regrets. And I think Dembe, for these past couple of years, I think he has been sort of in a, I don't want to say like total la-ti-da mode over all of this, but I think he has been able to be sort of free from the idea of, okay, you know what, I screwed up, I did this, that, or the other thing, and now I have to let this weigh on my head. He was able to go and be an FBI agent and, get a little bit closer, not buddy-buddy with the task force, but he's a part of the group, and then everything just kind of slams in his face in this episode.
Yeah, because Reddington decided to get Van Dyke's phone from the morgue, and he's been holding on to it, and now he's decided to get some information off it, see what he can see, and lo and behold, there are pictures on this phone that Van Dyke took of Dembe giving the letter to Liz. Now, to be fair,
Yeah.
I don't think Van Dyke had any idea what that letter was, what was going on. I just don't think he knew. I mean, his whole purpose felt like he just wanted to complete the task for Townsend. He needed to kill Liz in front of Reddington, even though Townsend was dead, that was, he was really loyal to him.
Yeah, he really just, I think, wanted to get this done by any means necessary. And I think obviously he was trying to track these images, and maybe he was trying to pass along these images to somebody else. He had other people scouting the areas.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Like, there was clearly, I think there's something more with Van Dyke that this show could give us if they decide to go back to that night, because I definitely do not think that everything is tied together at this point. But all of this kind of loops back into Raymond Reddington deciding and making this declaration that because Dembe took this time to go and give Liz this letter, he took his eye off the ball when it comes to scoping out the place and protecting the situation. It's a very important night for Reddington because apparently he was supposed to die, that this is suddenly now Dembe's fault. And if Dembe had done his job properly, Liz would still be alive at this very moment.
To which Dembe was kind of like, yeah, maybe. There's a lot of different factors here that Reddington is not really putting, to the forefront. He really is at this point sort of trying to find a way to, tie up what happened, who was really to blame for this. And I think when you're dealing with grief, and you're dealing with grief as heavily as Reddington is, you can only take it on yourself for so long before you are looking for somewhere else to transfer that grief onto, to be like, no, it's not me. It's not only me. You decided to take her to this coffee shop to give her this letter because you weren't paying attention on the night that was like the last sort of night of my life, that you were supposed to be taking care of Liz, taking care of me. You decided to do this instead, so you weren't paying attention. However, I mean, Van Dyke didn't just magically come upon them in this coffee shop. He had been clearly tailing them around or watching whatever. It wasn't like he just happened to be like, man, I could really go for like, a 10 o'clock at night coffee. I just happened to be at the same place.
This is a very complicated situation in a lot of ways, because I think we can all sit here and say, okay, theoretically, let's say Dembe was at like the peak of his Dembe powers here. Like, is there a chance he would have seen Van Dyke? Is there a chance that he would have been able to stop what was inevitably coming a little bit later on? Sure. However, it is also a chance. It is not a guarantee. And I think that Raymond Reddington, he may seem like he is above all of us in terms of total swag factor and just like having this awesome organization around him, but he is just the man. He gets very emotional sometimes. He did not like it when Mr. Kaplan betrayed him. He really doesn't like it when Dembe betrayed him. So maybe that is skewing his judgment just a little bit here.
Yeah, and listen, I understand where Reddington is coming from. It's an important night for him. It's his last night on Earth. He needs everything to go well. Yeah, he needs Dembe on the top of his game. Yeah, did Dembe drop the ball there? Yes, he did drop the ball there.
Yeah.
However, Dembe is also just, a person. So he thinks for himself as well. Yes, he's doing a job. He's with Liz. He feels like being with Liz is able to protect her. That's his job. He's with her. Nothing's happening to her. So he's also her friend. And that's the thing, too, that I think Reddington's kind of missing. Dembe's only purpose is not to just be this sort of Terminator for him, to just protect him all the time. Don't sleep, don't go to the market, don't go get a coffee, don't, take your eye off the prize. Dembe's still a person. So, he feels, he thinks, he's got these deep feelings for Liz. This is someone that he loves and cares for. They're friends. Like, it's hard to put all the blame on Dembe, because realistically, I mean, Dembe still had to get to Liz. Liz could have been killed in that time. Again, I don't believe for a second that Van Dyke magically only just found them at the coffee shop.
Here's the big question that I have for Reddington. And Reddington, if you are watching this video at this point, please don't send someone to kill me. But okay, this is the thing, Raymond. Dembe told
just
you.
Gonna be at our door in a minute.
Okay, Dembe said to you, like at the end of season 4, that he really questioned why they weren't just telling her everything at that point, that there was no need for all of this. Why did you not see this coming, Reddington? Why over these past couple of years did you not question this on some level? You knew that this was in Dembe's heart, that he thought Liz deserved to know. That has always been a part of his character. So you, in not sort of realizing this and not sort of recognizing this and maybe not taking more of the initiative on yourself, maybe it's a little bit your fault as well. And I know you probably don't want to swallow that, but you should. Now please don't kill me.
Okay, so Ben and I had a conversation before coming on here, because it's been a while, obviously, since the season 8 finale and all the nonsense with the tracker that was going on, that Liz had left on all the way to the bunker, which led Townsend and all his men there, except for Van Dyke. And then we ended up in this situation where, we were like, okay, was the tracker then still on her by the time Van Dyke found her, or wouldn't have Reddington found it and turned it off? And we were both sitting here being like, what did happen with that tracker? We cannot remember for the life of us. So if any of you remember, was the tracker turned on, off, or no answer because they didn't give us one when Van Dyke was looking around back in America for her, because that had been a question of ours for a while, where it was kind of like, how did he find her? How did he find her in the first place?
I am going to go with the idea that, unless this is like some superhuman tracker or whatever else, like, I'm going to go with the idea that there's something more that is going on here. Because if this investigation into Liz's death is just beginning, ... then I really think that there must have been somebody else who was able to tell Van Dyke or push Van Dyke in the direction of, okay, this is kind of where they're going. I don't know if Reddington put up flyers for his big restaurant event or anything, and it was just like common knowledge among the criminal world, which, by the way, kind of did make me question his whole, there were only a few people who knew we were going to be there. Dude, you were just like toasting at a restaurant right before this happened. So I just think there's something more.
It's true. I mean, it really wasn't just the three of them. I mean, come on.
There's got to be somebody else involved here, because otherwise the Blacklist can be, I don't want this, but the Blacklist could just be canceled tomorrow. Like, if there's somebody else going on here, I'm just saying there needs to be a bigger mystery. Otherwise, there's no reason for Reddington to even say this. So.
I do not want it canceled.
I don't either. I'm just saying there needs to be some meat on the bone. All right, so the other big part of this episode with Reddington is the saga of Reddington and Mirsa, the Mirsa-rington of it. Oh, no, that doesn't work at all. But no, this very sad episode for everyone rooting for Mirsa and Reddington.
Yeah, I mean, there's been, enough going on. People have called her his lover. We've had that moment where she was come to bed. We saw a very passionate kiss, and we saw her basically say, listen, like, you are so involved in this and so obsessed with this that I just can't be part of it anymore. And he's kind of like, can't there be a world where both things exist, where I can still find out what actually happened to Liz and we can still be together? And she's like, no. And it's just like, okay, I kind of understand where she's coming from, but at the same time, when you're with somebody, you do need to support the person that you're with. He's a man that needs answers. He's clearly been going through grief for 2 years. He hasn't been able to get past it. And one of the main things that's sort of been itching at him is that he just doesn't understand how Van Dyke found her and killed her and how this happened. And I think there's got to be a little more understanding with something like that. So to me, this just feels like, as much as she loved him, she just wasn't the right person for him. And I'm not saying like he should just be obsessed with everything, but he actually just doesn't have answers about someone he loved being killed right in front of him.
Yeah, and this is a pretty important thing to have answers about. Like, I know a lot of people got on Liz for wanting to know answers for so long, but I mean, we're seeing the shoe on the other foot here for Reddington, where he's now the person who wants to have these answers, and that's okay. And I just think ultimately, if that's not who Mirsa is, if she's someone who just sort of wants to just have all that sort of be pushed away and doesn't think it's going to help anything, that's fine, but this is not the place for her. She should go somewhere else.
It is not on her timeline for him to be ready to move on and have answers and feel healed. Now, could he be in a place where he never gets those answers and never feels healed? Sure, yeah, that could happen. But he's also Raymond Reddington. He was also the Skinner, if we all remember that that's still going on. He has a huge network and he's able to find things out, and I think he will get his answers. And if it's too much for her, okay, no problem. You've been honest about it and you've pieced out. So that's what's happened.
I did love Reddington's varied attempts to try to make sure that she didn't leave, almost as though, kind of trying to stage the
romantic.
Yeah, look at him. He's turning that trailer into just like a 5-star restaurant. Reddington was doing the most. And also Reddington kissed another person, and that continues the theme of Raymond Reddington getting more action over the past year than in like the history of the show.
Yeah, he has kissed a lot of people this season.
Yeah, like a lot.
Like a lot. Okay, all right. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Wrestler before we get to the Cooper stuff of it all.
Okay.
So we know that Wrestler visited Liz's grave in the last episode, that not everyone, but, we really love that episode. Not everyone did, but, and he ended up saying in this episode that it didn't actually help him as much as he thought it was going to. I don't know if he thought it was going to be kind of like magic. He was going to go there and feel better and give up his addictions. I mean, that's not how it works in the real world. And I'm glad that the show is showing that that's not how it works.
I think they're doing a good job of sort of establishing where he is, him understanding that he has some problems. Like, if you're getting to the point where you are like trying to snatch like, sheets of a prescription pad in the middle of an investigation,
Ew.
that is like code red level. We have a really big problem at this point. Okay, this is my big alarm bell issue here with Park, who has been incredibly patient with Wrestler, all things considered, through a lot of this. Because honestly, like, let's look in the real world here. She's got a colleague who is just like completely off the rails with addiction. And the longer that he's out there in the field, like, he's going to put her in danger. He's going to put everyone else in danger. Like, you don't know where things are going to unfold. Like, I don't want Wrestler to go because I like the character, but at a certain point, it does kind of get like, okay, is this realistic anymore that Park is still, I know she's upset with him, and I know there's all that sort of stuff going on, but she's still kind of letting a lot of it slide.
She is, but at the same time, she has said that she has like a very personal understanding of what he's going through. And I think when you have that, it makes it a bit easier and clearer to, spot what's going on. Yep. And if you can help, you help. And the thing that's really helping him, and he said is helping him, and, it looked like it really was, is that she's calling him out on his BS. So whenever he is really stepping over the line, she's really watching him to be like, no. What's in your hand? Oh, it's nothing. No, it's not nothing. Put it back on the table. Like, I loved Park in this episode, and I've really liked what they've done with her this season, with specifically this friendship with Wrestler, and I am going to continue to call it a friendship. Mm-hmm. I know that, in the past we've seen sort of hookups, obviously, at the task force with Wrestler and Liz. I don't want to see that here. This show does friendship really beautifully. Like the friendship with Reddington and Dembe, gorgeous. I love it. And I'd really like to see like a really good, deeper friendship, because both Wrestler and Park need something to do. And I think that this really helps.
I really hope that it does get the Wrestler sort of out of these shadows and into the light, because he's never really been all that cured of all these addiction problems. Like, they've been going on for years.
And nobody ever really gets cured. You just have to, keep on keeping on. It's a struggle, but, you can get on the other side of it.
And I hope she's able to do that for him, but he's ultimately got to be the person to sort of make these decisions himself. I'm hopeful based on the end of this episode, but it is one of those sort of things where I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, we saw him handcuff himself to the desk. He's going to be there all night, and he calls Park as a friend to just be like, listen, please come in early in the morning. I'm at work. I'll be here all night, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay, so finally we get to the story of Harold Cooper and how Cynthia Senator Panabaker is setting him. Okay, I don't know it's Panabaker. I'm still dying on this hill that it is Panabaker who has now got him at a point where there are like multiple bodies that Cooper is now responsible for.
I have a very thin theory at this point. And I know that some of you guys have said this in the comments, that it's Reddington that's setting him up. I don't know what the motive would be for that. And before everybody jumps in the comments and is like, he's trying to take Agnes, he doesn't need Cooper to be dead to take Agnes. He can take Agnes whenever he wants. And even if Harold is in jail or dead or whatever, Charlene is the next person who's going to end up taking Agnes. And even if she is implicated as well, which she is because she's lied, it will not be Reddington. Reddington can take her when he wants. So I'm just putting that out there. I don't know what his motivation would be to set him up. However, The editing on this show tells me that it's Reddington, because in this first scene where we saw Harold kind of explaining it, being like, oh yeah, I'm being basically blackmailed now. I'm in it, you're in it, Charlene's in it. They know everything that's going on. And who calls? Nick's Pizza. I'm like, okay, that's not a coincidence.
Like, there's a very good chance that it is Reddington and we don't understand the motive for it yet. Like, I just hope, whether it is him, whether it's Panabaker, like whether...
I hope it's Panabaker. I actually don't want to see it being Reddington.
I just want it to be somebody who we care about, I think, more than anything else. I don't want it to ultimately be, like Stooge number 3. And unless Stooge number 3 is the second coming of Neville Townsend and is going to be like the big bad for the rest of the season or something, and we get like real time to dig into them, I don't want it to be somebody who is just sort of introduced, like killed off the next episode, and then we'll see you later, because this has been going on for, I don't know, a big chunk of the season at this point. Like, they have invested so much time in this story that I think it really needs to matter, and that is why I hope at some point, because I know we're getting this Dembe sort of spotlight coming up, but I hope we get a Cooper spotlight that may be able to shed a little bit more light as to why he's in this position in the first place.
Okay, we're friends again after you said that you hope that it would be canceled.
I didn't say I hoped. I just said that if they're not doing anything with this whole Van Dyke situation...
I know what you said.
Listen.
Do not bring up cancellation, but now that you said that there should be a whole Cooper episode...
Okay, I'm on the good list again.
Yeah, forgiven.
Okay, well, NBC, renew it for a season 10. There we go. Everybody's on the good list now. Okay, no, this episode I think has us excited, at least in terms of some mysteries.
Oh yeah.
So I hope that there's some really big payoff coming up on this Dembe episode, which is coming up next. But of course, thank you guys for watching. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and we will see you here next time.